Today, we have just heard the State of the Nation address delivered by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Of course, the second one this year. The first one, at the opening of Parliament, was perhaps in many ways a kind of a holding exercise, a pre-election talk, let's see what happens. The more recent one is probably more significant. Of course, it's easy to criticize an address of this nature, and that's because different vested interests and different groups have their own objectives, which might not be met in the President's short speech. But let's have a look at some of the major ingredients of the latest SONA. First of all, I think what's pleasing, especially from a futures perspective, is that he seems to have reignited the importance and the sentiments of the National Development Plan, or Vision 2030. If one assumes that President Ramaphosa will serve 2 full terms, he has 10 years to implement and to bring about some of the major objectives of this plan. The mere fact that we are now looking at a longer-term way of thinking and not just very short-term trying to put out fires thinking, I think is crucial. The markets will probably take some kind of pleasure in the fact that he clearly reaffirmed the recently controversial mandate of the Reserve Bank. He reaffirmed that the constitutional mandate of the Reserve Bank is to protect the currency of the country in the interest of further growth and development. That must be a pleasing and an important statement to make. ESCOM, naturally, was brought up, and not too much was said there, except that over 200 billion rand will be used to help finance the much maligned and the financially struggling state organization, state-owned enterprise. Not much was said about SAA. In terms of land reform, a reference to the fact that for the time being, in the short term, in the immediate term, it looks as if they're looking at the redistribution of publicly owned land. Then, of course, very interestingly, towards the end of his speech, Mr. Ramaphosa, President Ramaphosa, referred to the very well-known fact that we are experiencing rapid urbanization, especially of younger people, but that our existing cities are frankly already full up, as it were. And he therefore proposed the possibility of sort of planted a seed about the possibility of building a brand new city, a new smart city, to use his words, founded on the basics and the foundations of the Fourth Industrial Revolution. I think many people would say this is a dream, it's too ambitious, but we need dreams. We need a kind of an idealized redesign approach, and it's welcomed. At the same time, naturally, there's always going to be a trade-off between short-term imperatives and longer-term desires and requirements. And that is part of this very difficult game that he, Mr. Ramaphosa, and his team has to play. They have to please and satisfy very important short-term problems in the economy, well-known problems, unemployment, low growth, high levels of inequality. But as he pointed out, sacrifices also need to be made. There's a trade-off between short-term imperatives and long-term requirements. So all in all, I think it is what it is. I don't think in all reality we could have expected a speech that addresses all the problems experienced by 56 million South Africans. There has to be a trade-off. You can't please all the people all the time, but I think it does set the foundation for what will hope to become a 10-year plan and not just a 2-week plan.